From the League of Women Voters of San Francisco. The League is a nonpartisan political nonprofit that encourages informed and active participation in government. The League does not support or oppose candidates or political parties. However, after thorough study, we do sometimes take stances on issues. The League is committed to providing the resources that voters need to exercise the most fundamental right in our democracy, voting. Please visit lwvsf.org/vote in the coming weeks, and you'll find all the resources that we have to offer. So I have a little thing that I have to run through because this is actually a pretty complicated election if you guys hadn't figured it out yet. So this election has pretty much all the local contests are ranked choice voting. And that always ends up being kind of one of the biggest questions that people ask us about. The Department of Elections is running some pretty big education programs on this, and so we're going to talk to you just really briefly about how ranked choice voting works. So on your ballot, a ranked choice contest is going to appear like a little grid, right? And the candidates are going to be listed on the far left column, and then your rankings are basically in the top row. And what you're going to do is you're going to fill in, right, from left to right. In the first column, you fill the oval for your first choice candidate. Then you kind of rinse, repeat for the second, third, and for as many candidates as you wish to rank. And that is what is a little bit strange about ranked choice voting. Sometimes people only let you pick 3 candidates. Sometimes you can pick 10. So, and it depends on how large the contest is as well. So a couple things to also keep in mind. You can't give the same rank to more than one candidate, so you can't have 2 number ones. You got to pick one. And if you do vote in that column, the later one will not be counted. You can't rank the same candidate more than once. So only your first ranking is going to be counted, and then the others are disregarded. You can write in candidates. So you write the name at the end of the space. So all the candidates' names are listed. There are going to be a few little lines for you to be able to write in a candidate's name. And then you do want to make sure that you fill in an oval to rank them, even if you have written in the candidate. So I'm going to do a quick land acknowledgement. I want to thank the City College Mission Center for hosting us tonight. And we also want to acknowledge that we are on the unceded ancestral homeland of the Rakhtamash Ohlone peoples, who are the original inhabitants of San Francisco. We recognize that we benefit from living and working on their traditional homeland, and we affirm their sovereign rights as first peoples of this land. Now I am going to introduce our moderator, and we're going to get you into the juicy part of the thing. So our moderator's name is Lauren Girardin. She is a League member and became a League member about in 2024. 2014, 2044. Whew.
I'm brand new, they let me do everything I want.
It's hot, you know, I gotta, yeah. We're going way ahead because she wanted to make a positive difference in the city she loves. She volunteers on both our communications and advocacy committees, and she's led a lot of the independent redistricting reform work in San Francisco that we've been working on. As a member, she's volunteered for the League seat for the Ballot Simplification Committee. Those are the lovely people that make it much easier for you to understand the things that are on your ballot instead of kind of the original legal text that comes out. And she is a long time and very proud resident of District 9. We try very hard when we do moderators for them to actually live in the district. It can be helpful for them to understand local issues. She currently lives in Bernal Heights, but before that she lived in the Mission and the Tenderloin. And in her day job, she's a communication strategist, a copywriter, and a storyteller. When she's not volunteering for the League, you'll find her with her friends on an urban hike or dancing at one of the city's amazing live music festivals or outdoor concerts. Maybe she'll dance for us tonight.
It depends. I'm more of a crowd dancer.
You're more, you need other people to dance too?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so
Get that going. Yeah, all right.
go for it, Lauren.
Yeah, and Yep. Yeah, I was at Shaka Khan yesterday at Stern Grove. So if my voice fails me, I blame Shaka. So thanks, Danielle. I'm really thrilled that so many of my neighbors have come out tonight to learn about the candidates for San Francisco's Board of Supervisors, District 9. Folks from all over the district have come out tonight and are listening online as well, so I will try to speak into the microphone more. I'm so glad to see folks from the Mission, from Bernal Heights, from St. Mary's Park, and from Portola, or Portola, depending on who you're talking to. Candidates, thank you, and just coming here and participating in this is so great, participating in democracy and making sure the folks can hear directly from you. And we're going to have these candidates share their views on key issues that are affecting our district and city. The questions I'll ask were selected from those submitted in advance by residents and organizations in the district, and we added a little context just in case some of you aren't as familiar with the policies or the names of the organizations that come up. And in case your friends, families, neighbors couldn't be here tonight, this forum is being recorded. It will be on our website at lwvsf.org and on our YouTube channel. It will also be on SFGovTV's YouTube and cable channels. So we've got some ground rules for you all first. First, for those watching online, you are in listen-only mode. That means the Q&A and chat features are turned off. For those of you in the room here, please be respectful. I know we're all very enthusiastic. That's why you're here. But we want to refrain from making noise. That way we hear the candidates and their answers. And that way also the folks watching online can hear them as well. This also makes sure that when we do closed caption for the video recording, that everyone can understand what's being said. Crosstalk gets really confusing for that. And the rules for the forum, you have all gotten these, but I'm going to repeat many of them just to make sure that everyone in the room knows how this works as well. So the League of Women Voters, as Danielle mentioned, is nonpartisan. We do not support or oppose candidates or political parties. That also means that every aspect of this forum is designed to be equally fair to all of the candidates. Each of you will have the opportunity to answer the same questions, and I'm going to rotate the order that you get to answer the questions. You get 60 seconds for each response. A league member will provide a visual indication for how much time you have left. Everyone see the timekeepers? Awesome. And though I have adapted to San Francisco's chill culture, I am from New York. Do not challenge me. I will cut you off when your time is up, and I will also try to calm you all down if you're getting a little too rowdy, all right? So remember, hold your applause, no booing, respect and civility. It's the league, that's just the way we roll. And for the candidates, your responses, we want you to focus on policy, and we want you to focus on issues. Be respectful also. Do not make personal attacks on other people. I will call you out. You might need to stop talking. You also need to not direct your responses to other candidates. You're talking to these folks here and to the folks that are watching online. And do not mention other candidates by name. They can speak for themselves, and I'm sure they will. And this might be a little confusing. I already heard the word happen tonight. This is not a debate. This is a forum. It's a little bit different than you might be used to. If there is a rebuttal, you do not get extra time. Instead, you need to fit the rebuttal in your answer to another question later on or in your closing statement. And same thing, this is not a rebuttal audience as well. So if you disagree with what someone's saying, just let it land and talk with your friends afterwards when you go to an after party or a bar or to one of the wonderful places that we have here in the Mission. Okay? Everything clear? Any questions? All right, great. Voters, you're going to have some important decisions to make for this election that is on November 5th. And tonight's forum is a wonderful opportunity to hear from these candidates to help you decide how you're going to vote. All right, let's go. Okay, opening statements. I have to turn a lot. There's so many of you. It's very exciting. You each have 60 seconds, and we're going to go alphabetical by first name, and so that means H. We're going to start with you. And first, introduce yourself and share with the what neighborhood you live in and why you are running for D9 supervisor. Oh, there. Oh, I'm going to be getting my steps in. All right. Who planned this? All right, we'll go in the front after this. All right. stand if you want, or you can stay seated.
Just say when, kiddo.
All right.
I'm H. Brown. I'm a retired reform school teacher. I taught gangsters in one capacity or another for 40 years. The kind of punks you have outside your windows on these motorbikes now going by. You need a professional to handle the situation in this district. Your main problem is exactly where I'm coming from. It's the cops and public safety, and particularly school safety. When I taught at Potrero Hill, that was the toughest kids in the district there, from Treasure Island, from the hill. Anyway, I'm H. Brown. I'm a retired reform school teacher, and I'm running to reform the police department in District 9.
Thank you. All right, Jackie, you're up.
Hi everyone, my name is Jackie Fielder. I'm a former city commissioner, longtime climate advocate, and co-founder of the San Francisco Public Bank Coalition. I graduated from Stanford with a bachelor's in public policy, master's in sociology. As supervisor, my biggest priorities are investing in low and middle income housing, housing 1,800 homeless SFUSD students, investing in our entire public safety system, activating empty lots and vacant storefronts, and supporting our small businesses. My campaign has been going around knocking thousands of doors, and we hear from residents all the time about how they're actually really tired of the doom loop and want real solutions. And I've met with over 100 community leaders and groups across this district to create a platform from the ground up, people who are doing the work day in and day out. And my campaign is about hope and real solutions, not fear. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Jaime.
Hello, my name is Jaime Gutierrez, and I'm running for District 9 Supervisor. The neighborhood I live in is the Mission. I've been here all my life. I only left it for 3 years in the military. I graduated from UC Berkeley in 1996. With a degree in social welfare and ethnic studies, I was voted most likely to come back to my school and teach. Unfortunately, through some ins and outs in life, I got on the wrong side of the track for a little while, and about 26 years ago, I got better. And since then, I've been serving people, and this is why I'm running. I'm running to serve you, to help you out, because I care, and because I believe that this district, for the last 8 years, if not 10, has been in the same cycle. So we need to change things. And hopefully I am that change to bring here. Thank you.
All right, Roberto. Oh, sorry. Julian. Sorry. I'm not wearing my glasses.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Julian Bermudez, and I'm a candidate for District 9 Supervisor. I was born and raised in the Mission District. I attended St. Peter's School. I went to Archbishop Britton High School, and I went to Chico State for a bachelor's in religious studies. Then I served 3 years in the United States Army as an infantryman. I'm running because I believe our city's communities aren't well represented. Growing up at Rancho Grande Appliances, my family's small business, it taught me the value of hard work and selflessness. I want to bring my hard work and passion to San Francisco politics. I've always been politically inclined, and I became frustrated after arguing with people constantly online advocating for our great city. So I decided to go for it and run. I wake up with the weight of my community on my shoulders, where our current politicians just see us as statistics and numbers. I'm running to spark the change that San Francisco needs. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Roberto.
Buenas tardes. My name is Roberto Hernandez, and I'm proud to be born and raised here in District 9 like my brother over here. I was blessed and fortunate to be trained by Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta at a very young age, who taught me to organize to make a change in our communities. You probably know me from Carnival. I've left Carnival for over 40 years, teaching about arts, about culture, about love and peace. But most important, we've also bring a huge economic infusion into our city. I have led the fight to build over 1,400 units of affordable housing, have supported our small businesses, and have also created initiatives to prevent violence in our community. So together, all this work that I've done can you imagine what we can do when I win in City Hall as your supervisor? Thank you.
All right, Stephen, please hold your applause.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Stephen Torres. I'm a 25-year resident of San Francisco. Most of that has been here in District 9. I am also a veteran of the nightlife and hospitality industry. I'm a working stiff like most of you. I'm also a renter and live in subsidized housing. That really is what informs a lot of the reason why I am running. I think that there is some value to having representation in this seat by someone who I believe shares similar lived experience as a lot of District 9 residents. I think that having worked also as an entertainment commissioner and in the San Francisco Mayor's Office of Housing Community Development in the cultural districts, I also know how to navigate the structures of City Hall and know how to navigate those while still centering what's important, which I believe is strengthening our community. We all know that there is never one solution, and we have to approach the challenges that we're meeting comprehensively, and that is by strengthening our community.
Thank you. And Trevor.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Trevor Chandler. I'm the Democratic Party's endorsed candidate here in San Francisco for D9, and I'm also proud to be the only candidate that's endorsed by both Latino and Asian advocacy organizations, and which I'm incredibly proud of given the incredible diversity of District 9. And I decided to run because I was tired of a city hall that was more focused on ideology than outcomes. I have personally knocked on the doors of over 10,000 voters, not counting the tens, 20s, thousands more that my campaign has knocked on. And the outcome, the response has been overwhelming. D9 voters want competent, reasonable, dare I say, boring leadership at City Hall. They want results. They want sound policy, not sound bites. And that's what I offer. What I want to do is broaden the tent and get beyond the stale ideological fights that have resulted in the Mission, Bernal Heights, and Portola being ignored for the last 8 years in favor of other cities. I want to do the work, get real results, and expand Team Reasonable for District 9. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, candidates, for your answers to these questions. If you want to applaud their opening statements, let it out. There we go. All right. Okay. I felt like it would be good to sort of release that, right? Okay, great. So we're going to move on to the questions. Can we pass the mic back to Jackie, please? It's going to take a minute. All right, so. All right, thank you for dealing with that. So the question is, San Francisco has a climate action plan to end the city's greenhouse gas emissions and improve our environmental sustainability. Which actions do you believe are the most important for the city to take to reduce carbon pollution?
It's really fitting that I'm the first to answer this question. I worked in climate advocacy and environmental justice for the past few years now. I think the most important is building housing that people can afford, who work in the city, who live in the city. We know that dense housing, but dense affordable housing is the biggest way to reduce emissions, especially when we're talking about cars and commuting to work. Secondly, public transportation. We are a world-class city. There is no reason we should not have world-class public transportation. That means community ambassadors to make people feel safer. That means supporting the Community Transit Act to tax Uber and Lyft, who are already using our public roads, and we're subsidizing for that. Taxing them to fill the financial gaps for Muni. There's a lot more that we need to do. We also need to fund the climate action plan because it is currently unfunded. Thank you all.
Great. All right, Jaime.
Jaime Gutierrez, I believe that San Francisco is such, I don't know if it can actually create a huge, what would you call an impression or an impact with climate change, but it has to start small. So we're going electric with cars, right? We have to create infrastructure so that people can have electric vehicles, because by 2035, everybody's got to have an electric car. Also, what we need to look at is that this way of moving into the future, are we going to leave people behind? There are communities that are going to be left behind because of lack of, say, an electric vehicle, or to have their gas stove has to become electric, and they don't have the money to put that together. So we have to look at that. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Julian?
Hi, everybody. My name is Julian Bermudez. I believe San Francisco should primarily stop focusing so much into technology and start focusing into renewable energy. I'm not sure if anybody was sweating today, but it was pretty hot today, especially here in the Mission District. And we're not utilizing that sun where we could have solar panels somewhere. If you live in the Portola, there's so much wind where you can't even hold your phone up without flying out of your phone. We don't use those resources, where our district has one of the best areas for natural resources, but we don't allocate any money or any city funds for that. And we keep on pushing the big tech into everybody's lives, but how is that helping us? There's so many people are asking to lower our utility bills. That's a great way to lower our utility bills, especially in District 9, where there are an incredible amount of low-income residents. It could really help us out. Thank you.
Roberto?
At the age of 14, when I was in Delano, California, with the United Farm Workers with Cesar and Dolores, I didn't realize that farm workers were making 40 cents an hour, working 10 hours a day, no water breaks, and while the planes were spraying them with pesticides. I became an environmentalist when I was 14. During the pandemic, the Mission Food Hub, when I started that, providing 9,000 families with groceries and services, I started a bike program, and we gave 2,000 bikes to kids. And now we have 2,000 kids riding bikes. For Carnival, we've been giving out electric stoves to families. I've been doing the work, and I will continue doing the work, because it's more important. When you look at solar panels, I was the first one to put a solar panel at the Bernal Heights Neighborhood Center when we started that, and that was in the 1980s. So I will continue to elevate in partnership with the work I've been doing with the Department of Environment. We'll continue to do that work at a policy and legislation level. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Stephen.
I think this comes back to the way I was saying we need to look at things which is comprehensively. It's very easy to say that it needs to be through housing, it needs to be through transit, but we have to look at how all these things are connected and the infrastructures that support them. The Climate Action Plan is comprehensive. Unfortunately, there are components of it that are overemphasized, like that we need to build, or we need to convert everything to this. What we also need to think about is how we are strengthening the very district we live in. There was an estuary at the top, at the bottom, and the middle. There's flooding that keeps happening seasonally. Those of you who are homeowners know that you're losing your insurance policies because of fire, flood, and earthquake. Also, the entire east side of Bernal is collapsing into the freeway. We have to hold the state accountable in order to aggressively build housing that makes sense for people that need it, that we have environmentally sustainable paths forward, that we are able to meet the challenges and cool down the district with the building of a canopy and the building of greening spaces.
Thank you. And Trevor?
Yes. So with climate change and for San Francisco to be a leader, we need to be proactive, reactive, and focus on getting the basics done right at the city. Proactive, housing and safe and clean and reliable public transit is the best way to reduce car usage. And that leads into the next part of making sure that we are providing shade in our district. And ironically, it ties into housing, because there are actually people that will oppose housing because of a shadow when we actually need more shadows. So in terms of being reactive, we also need to work on making sure we are providing shade in our neighborhoods on the hottest days. On one of the hottest days of this year, the splash pad in the Mission was closed. That's a common sense reaction to climate change that our city is failing our kids on. We need to make sure that if we're not solving the climate crisis in a very real and tangible way for the lived experience of D9 residents, our voters are not going to agree with us when we want to do big climate things. We need to get the basics done right for the folks on their day-to-day lives. That includes shade, that includes splash pads, and that also includes safe, reliable, and clean public transit.
Great, thank you. And
Thank you. First thing you can do Speed bumps. Any place that is important enough to have a stoplight is important enough to have a speed bump. Your reputation across the entire earth would be, go to San Francisco, expect to drive slow, but you won't get to rev up anything to kill any pedestrians, and another big idea. Matt Gonzalez, about 20 years ago, had a committee hearing with a group called Hydro Ventura. They had a proposal to wrap a Hydro Ventura plant around the base of Golden Gate Bridge, the north base, or the south base, and that thing would power the entire city plus part of the region. PG&E killed it. Speed bumps, Hydro Ventura, completely pollution-free. You put big blocks in and they're concave in the middle, and the waves come in. The ocean does it all the time, and they create a suction that goes up and pulls the turbines on the top. No pollution. Why is it not here? Because PG&E rules this city.
Thank you, H. All right, can we pass the mic back to Jaime, please? We're grassroots. Have you picked up on that? Yeah. All right, the next question. According to a press release from the mayor's office in February, across the city, property crime was down 32% in the first quarter of the year compared with the same period in 2023. And violent crimes were down 14%. Though this has decreased, residents still have real concerns about and problems with property crime and their personal safety. What are your plans for improving community safety in District 9?
Well, having part of my Platform B, public safety, I would increase the police department to full staffing. And the last class, or a class 18 months ago, had 37 candidates. So we have to somehow make the police department more viable, more attractive to young people. Have something like a GI Bill where in 5 years of service you get a 20% down payment for a house in San Francisco. You get your college paid for, or you get your anything up until that point, schooling paid for. The other thing is, I think that the statistics that you mentioned are not true. I think out knocking on doors, there was a couple that had, the new lick is basically to drill a hole in a garage door and to pull the thing to open it. So crime is happening. People are scared,
Great.
and we need to take care of that. Thank you.
All right, Julian?
My name is Julian Bermudez. For number one reason why people think crime is up, but statistics are saying the opposite, is because we have a huge amount of news exposure. I'm not sure if you go on your Instagram or Facebook, but it's always a crime every 2 swipes. And there's other apps, citizen apps, neighborhood apps, that make people kind of scared when crime's actually going down. But on what I believe would help our community is more community policing. Our cops actually being part of our community and our neighborhoods instead of just somebody that comes from Idaho. And also start passing preventative legislation instead of enforcement legislation to stop the crime from happening in the first place, then waiting for the crime to happen and doing something about it. And stuff like that is like in Europe, they have their police cars very vibrant, very neon, you could see where they're at. But here in the United States, we have them undercover. I'm not sure if you guys been to Daly City recently. There was a cop car that had little lines and it said police. You wouldn't have known it's the police.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Roberto?
Data. I've taken a deep dive into the data. Here in our district, we have the most 311, 911 calls, but we're not getting the services to deal with these calls. So my first program is to map out all that data and find the hot spots and go to those hot spots and become part of the solution. Number one. Number two, you're not going to have a fully funded police department. It's going to take time. So what we need to do in the interim is create a senior escort program that will take care of our seniors. Second of all, an ambassador program, just like the wonderful one that they have in Union Square. And third of all, is hire parents to be hall monitors and resource people within our schools to make sure that our children, especially in the high schools, are safe, because that's one of the biggest problems that I, as a parent, with my wife, we hear our son from high school telling us everything that goes on at Mission High School.
Thank you. All right, Stephen?
Again, it's looking at things comprehensively. Like a lot of this is perpetuated by news cycles and the fact that we're in an election year. Also, we have to acknowledge that part of the reason why we have crime is because of disparities in what people need and what they have, and the haves and have-nots. And people that are falling through the cracks, especially our youth and our elders. We need to increase our programs and strengthen our community in order to make sure that people don't fall into these cracks. The elders that are living isolated in their homes aren't getting evicted and then becoming homeless on the street. We also have to have community ambassadors and community policing as well, but that can't be contracted out like other programs in the city are right now, that we're ended up paying 4 times as much. The police department is not lacking from funding. It's not lacking from support from the city. We also have to think of how are we going to make that department attractive to people that live here, that come from the community, and that is through reform and accountability.
And Trevor? Oh, and also just a reminder to the audience, if you could turn off your beautiful ringtones. Thank you. Trevor, go ahead.
Yes. So again, being serious about safety means focusing on sound policy and not sound bites. D9 has experimented with a supervisor who had supported defunding the police for a long time, and we now see that experiment has failed. We don't need to experiment with another supervisor like that. And so what we need to do is make sure that we have an accountable, responsive, and fully staffed police department. And to the folks who say that, oh, the numbers are going down, things are fine, tell that to the Portola. Portola has the second highest rate of commercial burglaries in the city, second only to the Tenderloin. So when I'm knocking on doors and I'm hearing people who have got broken into for the second, third time, they're not reporting it to the second time. They don't want to lose their insurance, especially small businesses. These homeowners are tired of seeing their insurance skyrocket. They're already losing it, and they're afraid if they report another break-in, they're going to lose their insurance. So I'm gratified by the fact the numbers are going down, but my policy on public safety is that I am not going to be satisfied until someone is as comfortable walking outside at 2 a.m. as they are at 2 p.m. And that should be the standard every single politician holds them to when it comes to public safety.
Great, thank you. And H?
Thank you. Foot patrols. There's a group called Patrol Specials. There's about 10 of them left, maybe that. Used to be 600, 700 of them. The cops got rid of them because they walk beats. They walk beats, that's what they do. We want to get people back on a foot patrol, back on the beat. You've got to get rid of the present administration of the police department. You don't give $500,000 to about 100 people who've caused all the trouble, and that's what Prop F will do. Vote no on Prop F. Vote to bring back the patrol specials. It's going to be tough, but we can do it. We did it for 100 years here. The problem in San Francisco is that the police union runs the police department, and they go for the lowest exposure at the most money. These people are making $200,000 a year. There's no lack of funding in this department. They fund every damn position. The cops won't hire them.
Thank you. And Jackie.
As someone who walks these streets, I regularly ride Muni. I walk to our office at 26 and Mission. I see all the problems that we see, and it's absolutely a matter of dignity for everyone to feel safe walking to home, to work, on public transportation. And, as a woman of color, this is deeply personal. I always fear for my safety, and that's why I want to fund the entire public safety system. Right now, we have only 9 officers between all the 3 different police stations that serve our district walking the beat. 9. There are 260 driving around in their cars. What we need is actually people walking the beat, We need to triple the number of community ambassadors. We absolutely need community policing. And small businesses need support to actually have preventative measures like gates and locks, in addition to recovering the costs of vandalism and robberies. The police are also responding to 40% fewer calls, so we need to talk about how we're using their time.
Thank you, candidates. All right, this question we're going to start with Julian, so if we could pass the mic. Oh, you all are good. All right, I'm just going to hold this. All right, the next question is, San Francisco Unified School District is experiencing a prolonged budget crisis. Next month in September, the school district plans to announce the schools that it will close in 2025, which will likely limit school choice. If any schools in District 9 are permanently closed, as supervisor, what will you do to help students and families in our district?
Hi, my name is Julian Bermudez, and the number one thing is to get the community together and create a comprehensive plan of what to do when your school is about to close. And to make it for real, we already know who's running the show, and they're going to cut one of our schools down. So we're going to District 9 is going to be the one that's mostly going to be affected to it. And one thing I've been pushing since day one is a millionaire tax, because it's not that we have a lack of funding, is that we have a lack of taxing and the fair share that some people aren't paying. We shouldn't be having a crisis of closing down schools. We should have a crisis of closing down things that don't matter, like a Ferris wheel in Golden Gate Park. It's just bring the community together. This is not much of a supervisor thing. It's more of a community thing, and get the parents together, because if all these people are doing, oh, we need to save the kids, you're not saving the kids. You're restricting them in education.
Roberto?
The Mission District has the most amount of children and the highest needs. Not one school should be closed in District 9. And that's what I'm working on now. Not going to wait until next year. Engaging with the members of the Board of Education. I encourage you to call every member of the board to make sure that they do not close any of the schools here in our district, number one. Number two, as a parent, the schools already don't have enough resources, enough teachers. What we need to begin to do is hold the Board of Education accountable for simply not even being able to meet payroll. You all remember that story. How is it that our school district did not even have a system set up to be able to meet payroll? So it's important that we organize as a community to make sure that our children and our young people who live in this district are not become.
Thank you. Wow, all right. New York's in the house. Sorry, San Francisco. All right, Stephen.
Absolutely, we need to hold the school board accountable. These are the elected representatives, and I believe that's important. I believe that representation in the school board is important, because it is how you can flex your own power, and you need to hold them accountable. We all need to hold them accountable. But should one of the question was, if one of these schools does close in the district, it is on the supervisor to make sure that those gaps and disparities are being triaged. And it is an emergency situation. And it speaks to what I was talking about before, is that we have to find either emergency allocations or long-term allocations to help kids programmatically, to help them from falling through the cracks, from falling behind. If this school's going to close, yes, absolutely, legislatively, it's my job to help hold that body accountable, to hold our city accountable, but I also have to make sure that we're filling that gap that your kids are experiencing when it happens.
Great, thank you. And Trevor?
Yes, and as it relates to holding the school board accountable, I have held the school board accountable. I may well be the only person up here, or I may be one of few up here that actually joined every single precinct in District 9 in supporting the recall of the school board, because they were not focusing on student outcomes, they were focusing on ideology, the same issues that I'm seeing with City Hall. And I taught at Flynn Elementary last year. I taught 3rd grade. It was an incredible privilege being a teacher at SFUSD, and so this is deeply personal to me. We saw news just this past week that they're balancing the budget of Rec and Park on the mission's back by closing down our pools at Garfield early. I wonder if they're doing the same thing to Pack Heights. I doubt it. So you have an advocate in me in making sure that as these school consolidations happen, that I'm not going to take them balancing the districts back on the mission. As was said before, we have families here, we want to keep them here, and we want kids to be able to go to school in our neighborhoods, and then you have an advocate in me because I've proven, among others, that I am the one person that will hold the school board accountable.
Great, thank you. H?
I beg your pardon, but I had a battle with the superintendent here about 30 years ago. I created a program at Potrero Hill Middle School that put student monitors in the hall, 7 of them a class in between classes all day long. The superintendent didn't like it. The union didn't like it. I was taking work. We registered every kid to vote. Then we drafted them into student duty. Then my monitors wrote tickets, and we had student court, and we had student detention. That all worked. So yeah, you can fight them. The head of the school board didn't like me and threatened me. I said, "Are you kidding me? I'm from the projects in downtown St. Louis. Where the hell are you from?" I don't know where he's from, but right now he's in prison for contracting murder with Mohammed Nubru. So there going to be some tough people up there, but you need tough people to face them too. I'm that guy. You know, in or out of office, I'm going after them. I speak before the police commission every damn time they have a meeting, which is not that often because they do not want public comment going in there. Thank you.
Thank you, H. Jackie?
As the product of public schools, as a former educator at a public university, public schools are the foundation, I think, of our democracy, of our society, and we have to fight tooth and nail, Roberto's right, to make sure that they do not close here in District 9. We predominantly serve Black and brown students who have struggled so hard to recover from the pandemic, and something I don't think we talk enough about in policy is trauma and how that actually influences the future outcomes of society. There are these things called adverse childhood experiences that really determine the trajectory of a young person's life going into adulthood. And we know these are our future public safety problems. These are our future, hopefully, teachers and doctors and educators. But first, there are the protective factors. They need stable, safe places. They need mentors. These are our schools, often the case here in District 9. I'm proud to be backed the #1 endorsed candidate by United Educators of San Francisco because I will fight for our students. Thank you.
Jaime?
And I believe that that's the way to do it too. Also, to organize the parents, to talk to the parents in Spanish, in English, and to get them together to feel that threat. Because a lot of times, parents are unaware that what's going on at the schools because they're working hard to put food on the table and they don't have time for that. So it's very important for myself as a supervisor to get out there and to organize those parents against any sort of school closures and educate them, because that's really what's lacking here is education. As far as the budget goes, you know, that is their budget, the USD's budget is a state budget. So we don't have too much power over them, but we can certainly fight and we could make noise and we could go there and let them know that what they're doing needs to be looked at in another way. Thank you.
Thank you. If we can pass the mic to Roberto. You all are my favorites. All right, next question. This past January, the Board of Supervisors passed a resolution calling for a sustained ceasefire in Gaza, humanitarian aid, release of hostages, and condemning anti-Semitic, anti-Palestinian, and Islamophobic rhetoric and attacks. Do you support or oppose that resolution? In either case, what would your next steps be if elected supervisor for District 9?
First of all, I do not believe in war. I fought against and protested against the war in Vietnam. I fought against a lot of other wars. I believe war is not the solution. And you're talking about climate change. Do you know how much one bomb affects our Mother Earth? I believe in Mother Earth. Mother Earth was given to us as a blessing for us to live here, to take care of. You read the land acknowledgement. Our Native American brothers and sisters, that's what they've done prior to the invasion that came to this country. So building bombs and having Blue Angels, and if you look at the amount of money that costs to build a Blue Angel, it's over $200 million. How come we have money to build bombs and Blue Angels, but yet we're talking about closing schools? No way. I am not in support of any war, any money at all going to any war in any part of Mother Earth.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, Stephen, do you support or oppose? And then what would you do, Supervisor?
Yes, I support the resolution. What is happening is horrific, and we must oppose any sort of crime against our humanity. And what we can do next steps, in terms of foreign policy, we can make our voices heard, we can protest, we can advocate, as many people did, and have, and continue to do so. In terms of what we do legislatively or in City Hall, is that we meet the challenges and prepare for those refugees of these horrific atrocities across the globe that arrive here looking for help, that we provide safety for those who are living here in San Francisco as well. We must lead by example. We must show compassion and kindness to each other.
Thank you. And Trevor?
Yeah, I would have opposed it. Foreign policy doesn't belong at the Board of Supervisors. There's incredible conflict going around the world at any given point in time. Incredibly important. I'm not diminishing any crisis around the world. We have races for Congress. We have we have federal issues. What I hear on the doors every single day is, why wasn't City Hall focused on the mission? Why were they focused on the Middle East? I've had my car broken into. I'm losing my insurance. I've had all these issues, and they just spent hours upon hours talking about a very important but non-direct local issue. And I also have an incredible issue with the amount of anti-Semitism that poured out of that debate. And we knew exactly what was going to happen. The people who brought that resolution knew exactly what was going to be said, and it was said, and it could have been avoided. And the lack of condemnation of that anti-Semitism we saw pour out of that hearing, and even the statements after October 7th, celebrating that, I think everyone knew what was going to happen at that hearing, and they held it anyways, and I think it was a shame.
All right. Folks, please, till the end, thank you. We need to save time for the questions. There's other doozies. H?
We wouldn't want to get upset here, would we? The state of Israel is a fascist state committing genocide on the people of Gaza. They've killed 40,000 of them so far with our bombs. It's an absolute travesty. The fact that, I beg your pardon? Get out of here. Get out of here.
Sorry, folks. I'm the moderator, not anyone in this audience. Please, your opportunity to... H, please. H, please. Let's go back behind the table. Thank you. All right.
We get behind the table, you can't see my legs. The state of Israel is a fascist state. They're murdering the people of Gaza. The answer in the United States is BDS. Boycott and divest everything that has to do with the state of Israel. The idea that Peskin delayed this resolution for 2 weeks or something, then delayed it for I'm for Peskin for mayor, but that's the worst thing he's ever did. Israel is a fascist state committing genocide.
All right, and I just want to remind the candidates to not call out other candidates, even those who aren't here tonight. Thank you. Jackie.
Actually, the city has regularly weighed in on matters of human rights abuses around the world, whether that's South Africa, whether that's Tibet, whether that's Standing Rock, and I support the ceasefire. Even Speaker Emeritus Nancy Pelosi supports the ceasefire, as well as stopping the practice of spending billions of dollars and sending it to Israel for those weapons to drop down, ultimately, on innocent Palestinians and especially children. I think we actually need more money for affordable housing here, public transportation here, food, education here, and we don't need more money for bombs to be dropped on people halfway across the world. So I support it.
Jaime?
I would support it because I think that October 7th should not be forgotten. I think that a lot of people were affected by it, and that shouldn't be forgotten. They should be given voice. You know, we're right, the city is suffering too, also, from drug addiction and what's going on the streets, and people that are in the most dire situations. We do have that, but that's going on around the world, and I think that it's important to remember that, because we have, across the board, we have people, I know people that have parents and that have family members that are there, and they're afraid. They just don't know what's going on, and it's not like it's on the news every night. So these types of things need to stay into our consciousness in order to prevent them from happening over and over and over and over again. Thank you.
All right, Julian?
My name's Julian Bermudez, and I support the ceasefire, and that's coming being an infantry veteran. I was in the U.S. Army training for war. I have to go to the VA. For once a month, I have to go see a psychiatrist and a therapist once a week, and all I did was train. Imagine all the soldiers that went over there, did what they did in Iraq and Afghanistan, how much they gone through. Just imagine what the children in Gaza are going through. What I go through is minimal of what those kids are going to go through. And yes, San Francisco should get involved in national politics and international politics. Harvey Milk himself led the charge against school teachers being exposed if they were gay or lesbian. And because of his push, he stopped that initiative going throughout the whole United States. The United States looks at San Francisco as a beacon of progressiveness, and we have to be that beacon of progressiveness, because if we start going center or we start going right, the whole nation's going to start going center and start going right.
All right, thank you, candidates. Thank you, audience, for reining it in. I appreciate it. All right, next question. Stay. All right. In the upcoming election, Californians and San Franciscans will vote on Proposition 33. If passed by voters, Proposition 33 would allow local governments to enact or, in San Francisco's case, choose to expand residential rent control. Do you support or oppose Proposition 33? And what are your plans for improving renter protections in general in District 9 and citywide?
Yes, absolutely. We have to expand rent control. I encourage all of you to vote yes on this. We often talk about our housing gap, our housing shortfalls. This is an easy way to meet that challenge. If we protect people in their homes, less people will end up on the street. It's very simple. We don't have to reinvent the wheel here. Like you, I am just an average working stiff that's trying to stay in his house. I live in subsidized housing through the Mayor's Office of Housing and Community Development. Yet, what most people don't know is that we don't have any protections. We don't have tenants protections. So that's another place where to expand it. We have to expand every tenant's protection so we can ensure and expand our housing stock. We have a housing stock that is unused. Sometimes you have to recognize that certain things are invented in order to achieve other ends.
All right, Trevor?
Yeah, Prop 33 is one of those issues that makes really strange bedfellows, where you have hard right-wing Republicans with folks who claim to be in favor of affordable housing. Prop 33 is a Trojan horse in order to allow folks to prevent more housing from being built. I support rent control. I support all of these issues, but Prop 33, if you read it, is not that. There's a reason you have hard right-wing Republicans supporting this bill, is because they want to protect their backyard and not build affordable housing. And so I'm in favor of expanding. I want a rental registry. I want to expand protections. I want to make sure we have strong eviction protections, all of those. But what we're seeing on Prop 33 is a real Frankenstein hybrid ideological bill. I'm not going to be supporting it. I support some common sense maneuvers. We don't need some random year, 1979. Why is that the reason we need rent control? I believe in going in and making real substantive changes that both protects renters and make sure that we have enough housing stock across the board. And so that's why will not be voting for Prop 33.
All right, if we could pass the mic back to the beginning of the table, thank you. I'm becoming reluctant to let go of this one. All right, H.
Yes, on Prop 33. Of course, we need rent control. All the rest is garbage. You've got to extend it to commercial property, too. Let's raise a few bucks here. It's preposterous. What do you got? About 150 years ago, a guy named Henry George of San Francisco wrote a book called Progress and Poverty. It was about how to handle that problem. And you create community land trust, and we have a community land trust here. Let's borrow billions of dollars from the banks and buy every goddamn piece of property that's for sale in San Francisco and put it in a land trust. That'll change it. That'll give you something. That'll freeze the rents there. That will work. Borrow, buy it all, progress and poverty, land trust. Damn, I got it all in.
Thank Jackie.
You know who doesn't want Prop 33 to pass? It's the people who put the arbitrary year of 1979 in there in the first place. It's the real estate developers and the real estate lobby. Renters groups up and down the state support Prop 33. There is Trumpian levels of disinfo about this conversation. I absolutely support Prop 33. I'm a renter. I am a beneficiary of rent control, and I think lots more people in San Francisco should have it who live in buildings built after 1979. I agree, it's a very arbitrary year, and that's why we need to repeal Costa-Hawkins, which is what this does. I'm proud to be supported by the SF Tenants Union, the Community Tenants Association, who represent thousands of different working class people of all backgrounds in this city who want to support tenants and make sure that people can age in place here, working class people can live here, and the city is not just a place for the wealthy. That's why I'm supporting Prop 33.
Jaime, thank you, folks. Jaime?
I would say yes on 33 as well. I am a renter and am a beneficiary of rent control. I've probably that, even though I have a city job, I think that that's the one thing that's keeping me in the city, because most of my coworkers have moved to other places in the name of saving a buck. And most of the people that are homeless, well, a percentage of people that are homeless are newly homeless. So I don't want to be somebody who's basically out on my ear and living in my car. So this is a good proposition to prevent that. Thank you.
All right, Julian?
My name is Julian Bermudez, and yes, I do want to expand rent control. With my work at Rancho Grande Appliances, I deliver appliances throughout San Francisco, and that means I worked really closely with landlords, and I know exactly how they think because I talk to them. I could say a good 20-25% of them are great landlords. I met a landlord that saved a dryer for about 3 years just in case if one of the tenants went away. But just recently, I just put a stove into a house where the landlord said, "Yeah, I kicked out those tenants finally, but they were Section 8. You know how they are." And it's just a continuation of no oversight over these landlords, repealing the Costa-Hawkins and the Ellis Act, and start instilling more oversight for these landlords so they can stop price gouging and stop ruining the economy of our city. Thank you.
And Roberto?
Sí se puede, Prop 33. I worked on the very first rent control coalition here in San Francisco, and it wasn't enough. I'll tell you, here in the Mission alone, I started a group called Our Mission No Eviction, and at that time, over 17,000 people we were able to save because of rent control. But yet, 10,000 people were thrown out. 10,000. And now you wonder why there's unhoused people in San Francisco. Have you read in the news about the people in the RVs in Lake Merced that were being pushed out? Those people, majority of them used to live here in this barrio, here in the Mission. They weren't hurting nobody. They had nowhere to go. You know, so what we need to do is really look at housing people. Be humane, be loving, be caring.
All right, thank you. And the next question's also on housing, so y'all all get a little bit more judge there. All right, so this question. What role should private developers play in addressing San Francisco's affordable housing problem? And as supervisor, what steps would you take towards solving the city's affordable housing shortage?
Absolutely. So I'm proud to be endorsed by SFGovTV, the pro-housing group. I'm proud to be endorsed by Senator Scott Wiener. I'm proud to support his common sense reforms across the state that have allowed projects like 3333 Mission to be built, 100% affordable senior housing. The fact is, the city and county of San Francisco is not capable of building our way out of this problem. We need a mixture of all of the above. We need 100% affordable housing built by folks like the Bernal Heights Housing Corporation. We need market rate development, and we also need to make sure that our regulatory structure allows to make sure we're having below market rate housing built. Right now we have hundreds of BMR units sitting empty because it takes as much paperwork as a mortgage as it does to get a BMR. It is easier to get a concealed carry permit in San Francisco than it is a BMR. And so what I want to do is fully streamline our permitting system so we can actually have the units built. Some of it is going to have to wait for the economics to make sense so they can pencil out. But if we continue to have the worst housing crisis in this state, we'll continue to lag.
Thank you, and please pass the mic back to H. The mic time does not count in their 60 seconds.
Help private developers. That's how the hell we got in this situation. It's the most money that you can make for the fewest rules. Streamline, when somebody says they're going to streamline something, watch your ass, because that means they're going to take away all controls. It means they're going to take away all oversight over all the bodies. Going to hand the developers everything they want. The reason you got see-through buildings here is because market rate housing pencils out for money. These developers don't give a damn. They build it. They don't care if it gets rented. They get their money and head out of town. Screw the private developers. They've never helped us, and they're never going to help you, period. Once again, land trust. Buy every piece of land that comes up. We will not lose money.
Oh, pass that to Jackie. Thank you. Jackie?
Yeah, when we hear pencil out, right now, a lot of the YIMBY position is that rents need to go up in order for more units to be built. And often, of course, we need zoning changes. We need to make it easier to build housing. It shouldn't be an onerous process. But also, we need the financing. If we just rely on private developers, we are really not going to be able to build the levels of housing that the state has required us, 46,000 of which has to be affordable. We do not have a way, unless we invest in building affordable housing. Take Prop I. There was a mansion that sold for $70 million on Billionaires Row just recently. We're going to get $4 million because we passed Prop I, which is a real estate transfer tax on the wealthiest mansions and skyscrapers. All of that will go to affordable housing. We need that. We need a public bank for low to no cost financing. We need to look at our public pension fund to invest in housing that our workers can actually afford.
Thank you. Jaime?
Okay, yeah. So we also need subsidies for people, because in order to build these houses, it's going to take a while. It is a long-term plan. So subsidies for union workers, for elderly, for immigrant mothers with children, to create places for them to be until the housing becomes available, and then maybe permits to move up a floor. Can you imagine if every house was able to go up a floor and how much housing that would create? So that's the type of stuff that we're talking about. So we're getting people, homeowners, into the business of owning a home and drawing an income stream from it. So that would be something that would be worth looking for. The boomers are dying, so some of these houses through Proposition 19 are going to come on the market. So that's going to create more housing for people. So we should have that. Thanks.
Julian?
My name's Julian Bermudez, and I guess what H. Brown said, right? But I do also believe that right now we are in a budget crunch, so the developers are going to help us now, but I feel like we should progressively phase them out to a point where it's going to be completely city-funded housing being made. That comes with changing our property tax to a land use tax. Lost my train of thought, sorry.
That's all right.
And just changing our zoning policies from the western side of San Francisco to be the same in the eastern side as San Francisco. Because when you go to the west side, it feels like you're in the suburbs, but what you're in our side, you're in a giant city, and I don't feel like it's fair, you know? And it goes on and on. Before I say something.
Thank you. Roberto?
I led our community to build 1,400 units of affordable housing. The first one that was built on Shotwell Street for 100 seniors took 7 years. That is criminal, insane. I figured it out already. After building 1,400, we could build them in 2 years. I would change the law, legislate to make that happen. Second of all, developers, we have worked with developers, but we need the developers to continue building. They're not building right now. There are entitled properties right now that are vacant. And you're right, if they don't build, we should buy them and we should land trust them, because that's the solution to building affordable housing. But let's talk about affordable. It should not only be the dishwasher, it should be the firefighter, teacher. They say teachers make too much money, but they can't afford to live here. You know, a nurse can't afford to live here. So we got to build housing for everybody. And it can be done and penciled out.
Thank you. And Stephen? Folks, I'll let you applaud after this question just to work it out, okay?
It says we know we are in this crisis because we have been so reliant on developers holding the keys to the kingdom, as it were, and for things penciling out for them. It's penciling out very well for them. It is true that once these developments are built, there is no interest in what happens to them afterwards. We have to make sure that if we are building housing, it also is part of our community. One of the things that we really stand to lose right now is the core of our community, our small business sector, our cultural areas, because of streamlining and deregulation in terms of development. What a lot of people don't realize is that all those commercial-only properties up and down Mission and on San Bruno, those are all now ripe for the picking for developers to just tear them down and put up a high-rise, and there is no obligation to move that small business back in. So we have to hold all companies that are developing housing accountable to make sure that it's integrated into our communities in a way that makes sense.
Great, thank you. All right, feel free to applaud. There we go. We're not done yet. We're not done yet, but you know, it's good to loosen it up. I'd have us do some stretching exercises, but that just seems too hippie for me. All right, so next question. We're leaving housing behind. I know we could talk about that one all night, but District 9 has many amazing parks, plazas, and other public spaces where residents come together in community. H, we're gonna start with you so if we can have the mic going back, all right? There we go. Do you support the privatization of public parks and open spaces? Why or why not?
Yeah, that's a great idea. They tried to sell all the buildings down across from City Hall, the whole mess of them. to private Eastern developers, Eastern Europe, and they wouldn't identify who they were. Schwarzenegger thought it was a great idea. A lot of San Franciscans thought it was a great idea too. No, I don't believe in having private enterprises come in. Take their money and spend it ourselves. The problem in this country and in this world is an imbalance of wealth. The only way that you're going to solve your problems is get some money from the billionaires, the oligarchs, and roll it down to the people who are in tents in the street. When the rich are living in the streets, let's build more market rate housing. There's plenty of vacant market rate housing now.
All right, we can pass that to Jack. Yeah. All right, Jackie.
No, generally, I think we should actually take a lot of the abandoned properties in the district. There are so many abandoned houses, abandoned lots that are really unactivated and have been for years and years. And this is District 9. I mean, we have a lot of green spaces, but not enough, especially here in the Mission District, where we have working class families, a lot of families with kids that actually don't have enough access to green space. And we know that mentally, we know that physiologically, it is healthy for the human brain, especially developing human brains for kids, to see green, to be able to play, to have open air and fresh air, especially when we're talking about a working class district, a lot of whom have rent burdened households, households that have multiple people, multiple generations living in them. And so I actually think we need more green spaces, and I would love to see the city actually take over a lot of these abandoned lots, turn them into that.
All right. And Jaime?
Yeah, I can't see myself supporting privatization of open spaces because I think it's important for people to be out there. San Francisco has more dogs than kids in it, so dogs need to go out. I love dogs. More than I love people, I'm so sorry. If we were all dogs, we'd all be happy together right now. Maybe a few fighters. There'd be a fighter. The dog over there would be fighting, but that's all good. I don't think that privatization would be good for open spaces in San Francisco. It is a big city. It's a world-class city, but it's very, very scenic. So these places, these peaks, these places where people can sit and reflect are very, very healthy, and we need that. We need that for our self and our actualization. Thank you.
Julian?
My name's Julian Bermudez, and no, because it's basically giving out public land to private investors. It's basically, oh, there you go, take our land. You can do whatever you want with it. We're not going to have no oversight. I'm not sure if you guys know that park on Valencia that's been closed for like 5-6 years or something like that. That's a private park. It's been gated up for the past 4 or 5 years. That's what's going to happen park per park. One shooting happens, park closed, because the private investor or the private owner doesn't want nothing to happen. We're basically giving away land to rich people and expecting them to do good. But at what point, since Reagan, at what point are we going to get it through our heads that they're not going to do what's best for everybody? They're going to do what's best for them. The amount of, we have Roberta right next to us. With public land, we were able to do through great things with Carnival and just other great things here in the Mission District because we have public uses of land. We could expand our use of the 24th Street BART Plaza if we put more money into it. Public land will help us build a better community. Thank you.
Thank you. Roberto?
Absolutely not. We organized the community when we didn't have a gym here in the neighborhood, and we got Mission Recreation Center built on Harrison Street. We didn't have enough parks, and we organized the community, and we were able to get Potrero del Sol Park built. We fought and fought and fought for the parks and all the open spaces that we have in the community. How the hell are we going to turn these over to private companies? Let me tell you, we were at Potrero del Sol Park last year, and we were barbecuing. And all of a sudden, some guy in a uniform came and said, "Where's your permit?" And I said, "Permit for what?" And he said, "Oh, you need a permit to barbecue."
All right, folks. I might just let you applaud after every question. I can feel the vibe in this room. All right, Stephen, your turn.
Absolutely not. I think it's cruelly ironic that we make such an effort to open, meetings and community events with land acknowledgements, and then entertain the very notion of giving this land away to those with the most money. This is well underway, and this strikes very close to me. We've already been privatizing the public parks in San Francisco for many years now, and now those companies that are in charge of that are getting more and more traction and branching out into other community spaces that they're taking away from the community and convincing the community that they aren't viable, that the only sustainable future is if they're privatized and closed off to the community. There's a lot of talk about third spaces and places where we need kids to be, for people that isn't tied to alcohol, and yet we're closing them off one by one.
And Trevor.
Absolutely no to privatizing public parks. In any event, we need to expand green space. I have some incredible friends like Jorge in Greening Spaces, who is actually trying to take neglected areas throughout District 9, like Ogden Avenue, and beautify them. And he's navigating an incredibly obtuse city process that is making them pay for permits, everything, to make their own space green for the entire community, open. So no, absolutely not do we need to privatize any public park. We need more green space. The mission is woefully underserved by green space. We need to look at options. We've had the ongoing debacle at Parcel 36 at Harrison and 22nd. That is an excellent area to find a common ground for green space. Again, we have people that are doing the work to try to expand green spaces throughout D9, and we should be going in and streamlining city government so that these folks that want to benefit our community don't have to pay $2,000 for a permit to turn an abandoned street into a green space that benefits the entire community. So absolutely not to privatizing green to parks.
Thank you. Here we go. All right. It also gives us time to pass the mic back if you applaud for a little bit longer. All right. Next question. And do you all have 2 more questions in you? Yeah. Oh, good. I mean, it's warm, but this is good. All right. Our city and district have a lot of work to do around the mental health and drug crisis. How would you work to make sure people have access to treatment and rehabilitation that will make it safe for them to be back in the community? Oh, sorry, we're starting with Jackie. Sorry.
I think this is one of the biggest issues when it comes to public safety, when it comes to homelessness. I think people actually also are talking about the mental illness and the substance use disorder crisis. We know that last year was the most deadly year on record for our city for overdoses due to fentanyl. And I will make sure that we are not going to repeat that, because we got to take advantage of Prop 1 funds that we passed at the state level in March. It was only last week that I learned that the city has a task force getting together a plan to make sure that we invest that money in thousands of mental health beds, because this problem has been compounding for decades. It was Ronald Reagan as governor who decimated the rehabilitation system and was promising our communities community-based behavioral health centers for people to get well. Those never materialize, and if we want any change, we have to invest in Prop 1 funds and workforce housing to make sure that we have the doctors, nurses, medics to treat those folks.
Thank you. Jaime.
Yeah, we used to have this thing called the map van that you could call a number and the map van would show up, pull up, and help you out. They would take you to a detox place that was called the Osnom Detox, and the city did away with that. So we need to bring something like that back. We need to differentiate between mental health and a drug crisis, because they both kind of emulate the same. You don't know if a person's mentally ill or are they just tripping off drugs. It's about one and the same, so it's a misdiagnosis. So we really need to get to the point where we get down to the level of the person. You know, meet them where they're at is what they say that is. You know, to find out where they're at, get a proper diagnosis and get them the help that they need. Because we're talking about something akin to remember when COVID was happening, people were dying. You know, they had them in hospitals and whatnot, and people were dying in the hospitals.
Thank
and
you.
the same.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Julian?
Hi, my name is Julian Bermudez, and just like pretty American, a combination on-demand treatment center and safe injection site. This is mostly so. First off, what a lot of people just don't like open air drug use. That takes care of open air drug use. But in that same place, if you so choose, and that's giving the person the choice, you will have the ability in that same place to get treatment. And one thing that I saw in an interview on YouTube the other day, that people are trying to get treatment, but these private places or publicly funded places don't have the capacity. They go there at 9 a.m., don't make it. The second day, don't make it. Third day, don't make it. They quit and they go back. And having a place where you, not only you have the choice where we can give information, hey, you can get off of this, you can be saved. This is something that the churches do. Thank you.
Roberto?
I told you all the wonderful things I did, but I didn't tell you that I became an alcoholic and a dope fiend. And 28 years ago, I got into recovery. And so I know about addiction. And through my experience with addiction, I've learned also to give back. I've sponsored over hundreds and hundreds of both men and women in recovery. I have been involved with Walden House. I've been involved with Health Right 360 and many other programs. And I'll tell you, the worst thing that we're doing right now is we're warehousing people. On 26 in South Van Ness, they opened up a center. And our center is supposed to be for families. And what did they do? They threw in people who had mental health problems, drug addicts, and alcoholics. What we need to do is create on-demand services. If you're a drug addict, you go to this program. Fentanyl, you can't go into that drug program. There's got to be one just for people with fentanyl. If you're an alcoholic, you go to this program. If you're a mental health patient, you go to this program.
Thank you,
This
Roberto.
mixing people up does not work.
Thank you, Roberto. Stephen? Folks, I'm going to let you plot after every question, I promised.
As I shared in the first debate, I work in a supervised consumption site. It's a bar. Alcohol is a drug. It's one of the most brutal and debilitating drugs on the planet. Fentanyl also has the power to kill. It's also on the list of the World Health Organization most useful medicines. So this is all about how we approach things. And one of the things that we haven't done is we haven't listened to experts, scientists, and healthcare workers when it comes to these crises. Instead, we've had an administration that has exploited this situation for its own gain and used pay-to-play tactics in order to let people fall through the cracks and basically die. We need to have on-demand care. We need to have places. We need to have services. We also need to have the staffing. It's not just about housing those healthcare workers, but actually being able to staff these things instead of contracting it out and paying 4 times as much for healthcare workers who have no training with this at all.
Thank you. Trevor?
This is on City Hall, period. If you want change, you can vote for the folks that are endorsed by the most supervisors, and they will do the same thing as the previous supervisors. That's the option. I am offering change. Like Roberto, I'm proud in long-term recovery. There's some practical things we need to do, and there's some aspirational things we can do. And what we can't keep doing is having these fake fights about, oh, we didn't do this form of it perfectly, and so that's why we have to keep doing it, even though we see more and more failure and death on the street. It's time to get real-time, real-lived increases in the quality of life. That means fully coordinating all of our various crisis outreach teams under one roof, not 8 that don't talk to each other. We need real treatment on demand that prioritizes sobriety. We realize that there are people on the street that have lost the capacity to care for themselves and are a danger to themselves or others. We need to update our conservatorship law. These are common sense things that will have a real impact and save lives, and we have to break down and get to the reasonable solutions instead of the same failed ideological fights on this that we've seen the last decade.
Thank you. And if we can pass the mic to H, please.
We went from mental health to alcoholism to drug addiction, different topics. To the cops, they're all nails, okay? See somebody on the street acting out, it's a nail. You hit it. You go with that. Laguna Honda sits high on a hill. Do you know that's the last public almshouse in the United States of America? What's happening? The developers are after it, trying to throw the poor people out, toss the poor people out of it. I'll tell you a big move you can make. Don't reinvent the wheel. Go to look at Spain, look at Germany. Decriminalize drugs. That takes the dealers and the cops out of the equation, and what's left? The people with mental health problems. Obviously, we've got to build more institutions for that. But first of all, separate the addicts and the crazies from the people and the violent people, and you can do that by decriminalizing drugs. It works in England, it works in Germany, it works in Spain. No more dealers, folks. No more interactions with the cops.
Thank you, H. And pass the mic to Jaime. Folks, if you want to applaud the answers to that question. Thank you. All right. And this is our last question. The San Francisco Municipal Transportation Agency, or SFMTA, manages the city's transportation, including muni, parking and traffic, and bike and walking projects. Do you feel that SFMTA is doing enough to improve public transportation and traffic calming in District 9? As supervisor, what will you encourage SFMTA to do differently?
What I encourage SFMTA, guiltily working for them, would be to bring all parties to the table, to talk to all parties rather than just a room full of people that just got out of college and figured out how it goes in another city or another place in the world, and bring those ideas here without vetting them properly. They need to talk to the merchants. They need to talk to the people that walk the streets, the bicycle people, and of course the drivers, because no matter how bad the city wants to get rid of drivers, there are people that need to drive, older people that need to drive. They have their cars. So, you know, we don't want those people left behind. And if they're going to try something big, like lay a strip of bike lane down the middle of the street, they need to do it piece by piece to see how it works, rather than lay it down at once and throw everybody up in arms up until this point. Thank you.
Thank you. Julian.
Hi, my name is Julian Bermudez, and I agree with Jaime. It's more community engagement. I walked around the Mission, and I'm like, there's too much speeding here. And so the parts in Cortland closest to Bayshore, going up that hill, I feel people go way too fast. I'm a caregiver. I take care of my older grandparents, and I take care of my younger cousins. Their ranges between 11 to a barely newborn, and I drive them around. And I feel unsafe when someone doesn't put a little light on or driving too fast through these streets. I'm not sure if you guys go through these little Mission streets right here where you have to really tighten up. It feels that SFMTA just does what would get them more traction or more funding, instead of actually talking to the community and trying to get something that is both safe and improves traffic flow. Thank you.
Roberto.
We organize the community around children and young people not being able to afford riding a bus. So we got Google to fund free muni for our children and youth. That only lasted so long because that money ran out. Our children and youth should not have to pay to ride muni, number one. Number two, the bike lanes. You know, we were responsible for putting the first bike lane here on Valencia Street. That bike lane was fine. They spent $1.5 million of what they call an experiment on Valencia Street. You know, we need to have a master plan. Can you imagine a bike plan that connects all the different neighborhoods instead of these Band-Aids, little one here, one there, right? And the last thing I want to share is that with SFMTA, they know where the accidents happen. Why do they not address where people are getting killed and cars are hitting each other?
Thank you. Stephen?
Again, it's about so many things. But we have to think about it's public transit agency, and what is the focus? The focus is supposed to be on people, pedestrians, and we need to make it safe for them at all levels, whether that's at the street or on the bus or on the train. We need to be able to ride a bus or a train safely without fear of violence or exposure to hazardous chemicals. And so we deprioritize our enforcement away from ticketing for, fare evasion to actually just ensuring safety like it used to be. We look at how we make streets safer for pedestrians by regulations on now motorized vehicles that are riding on sidewalks and riding down the street and with no care to anyone whatsoever. But most importantly, I want to call out, just deferring to the expert on this panel, that we do need to bring all people to the table. And part of the problem that we have here is that we have it at the mayor instead of a joint powers authority.
All right, Trevor?
The answer is no. SFMTA has not been prioritizing D9, and nowhere is that more clear than in the Portola. Again, I've knocked on every voter's door there, and they have been begging for slow streets on Manzel, on Silver, on Silliman, that have turned into basically mini interstates because cars are flying up and down them, and with disregard. They've been begging for stop signs. They have been begging for speed bumps, and they have been completely ignored. Portola specifically has basically become a forgotten part of D9 over the last 10 years. And that's why I've committed to knocking on every single door there to make sure every single voice is heard. Because these sorts of concerns, if they don't have a supervisor advocating for them, then SFMTA is sure not going to pay attention to them. And so every person that I've knocked on, I have a list of every conversation I have for every single street issue. And if I'm fortunate enough to get elected, I'm starting with a to-do list to start from bottom to top to make sure that we're actually getting SFMTA to address the real issues that every single D9 resident wants addressed.
And if you can pass the mic back to H. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaime. Double down for death. Somebody gets killed in an intersection, 2 speed bumps instead of 1. Speed bump at every goddamn traffic light in San Francisco. There's a traffic light there because it was dangerous to begin with when they paved it after the horses left. Double speed bump someplace, somebody's got killed. Folks, this is not going to be a problem in 10 years. The Chinese already have it. They have cities that are no private vehicles are allowed whatsoever. You want to ride, a vehicle shows up at your house in 5 to 10 minutes. Who's pushing that in the United States? Elon Musk. A lot of people hate the guy. The guy says in 10 years, I'm going to be out of the business of selling cars. I'm going to be running them. But the secret is, the difference is, when they come to your house this time and you get picked up, no more speed bumps because the cars are all automatic. There are no drivers.
Jackie?
No, I absolutely think SFMTA could be doing more, bringing the community into these decisions. The Valencia Center bike lane is one example. While I support it, it was really rolled out without a lot of input from the community and has a lot of, disagreements, rightfully so, from small business owners. I think in general, we need multilingual access all across the district. We are a proud district that has Spanish-speaking residents, we have Cantonese-speaking residents, we have many more languages in the district. I regularly ride Muni. 14 to 49 are my home lines. I think it's, again, every person's right to feel safe riding home to work, whether they are walking, biking, taking public transportation. There's no reason why we shouldn't have a world-class public transportation system to make it easier than getting a Lyft or an Uber.
All right, that's it for that last question, so go ahead. All right. And can we pass the mic to Trevor? All the way down to Trevor, please. All right, so it's time for closing statements. And remember, candidates, you're talking to the residents of the district who are also watching online and will be watching the recording later. We're going to go in reverse alphabetical order by first name. You're going to each have 60 seconds. And because you have all in the audience been so enthusiastic, I just want to remind you, please hold your applause and other reactions until all of the candidates have given their closing statements, and you will have a chance to applaud them all then. All right, Trevor.
Thank you. Once again, I'm Trevor Chandler, and I'm not running for supervisor because San Francisco is broken. I'm running for supervisor because City Hall is broken, and there's a big difference. I talk to people every single day, small business owners, advocates, entrepreneurs, artists, and they say, Trevor, we are fighting like hell to bring this city back, and it feels like City Hall is fighting us right back. And that's what I'm good at. I am good at breaking down those barriers so the voices that need to be heard can be heard. I'm not pretending to be anything I'm not. What I want to do is bring competency and reasonableness and results to City Hall. I promise not to be the most exciting supervisor, but I promise to be the most results-driven supervisor so that you are actually seeing real-life, quality-of-life improvements and not just words saying that you should be seeing them 10 years from now if I do this. That is my commitment to do. Don't judge me 4 years from after I'm elected. Judge me 4 months. That's my commitment to you, and I would be honored to have your vote.
Thank you. Stephen.
Like a few of my colleagues, I've knocked on quite a few doors at this point, and I've talked to a lot of you. And I've actually shared with a lot of people recently that I kind of wish you all could do this. Because I think if you talked to everyone, you'd see that we have more in common than we have which divides us. I'd say the common thread to all of us is that we all love this city very much. And I would like to represent you. I would like to represent the love of that city. I have said this many times. Heaven is a place on earth, and that place is San Francisco. And we all know that. Anyone that's lived here knows that. And if someone is trying to tell you that it's a hellscape or a shithole, then you have to wonder and ask yourself, why? Why are they telling you that? In history, so many times people have said, oh, this isn't worth anything, so let me take it from you. They want to take it from us. Let's not do that.
Thank you. Roberto.
First of all, I want to thank the league for hosting us tonight. I also want to thank Community College. This building is very special to me because I was part of a whole community that helped build this building and this college here in the Mission. I want to honor Carlota de Portillo, who was the president at that time of Community College Board. I want to thank Margaret Cruz. In fact, they named a room after her, so I want to honor my elders for the creation of this space. I'm not running an I campaign. I'm running a we campaign. And I want us, just like everything I've worked on, it's not me, it's been we. We as a community have organized and have come together. We've created coalitions to be able to get things done. And I promise you one thing, if I am elected and you give me the honor to represent you, you will be part of my administration to get things done.
Folks. Come on, we can do this. Julian.
Hi, my name is Julian Bermudez, and if leave you guys for a food for thought, when you guys head to the ballot box, I want you guys to think, am I voting for hope or am I voting out of fear? When you vote for a candidate, when you vote for a prop, are you doing it because you were scared into doing it, or are you hopeful that that's what you want? The news has gotten so toxic, that has been going so to a point where I can't even trust in myself. I'm checking out authors down to the point of when and where they went to college. That's what I want to leave with everybody tonight. Vote for hope and not for fear. And I also want to thank everybody that came here. I want to thank the league. I want to City College. This building was actually my first class at City College, so it's kind of came full circle. And also, I want to promote my rugby team, Fog Rugby. We are the #1 gay rugby team in North America. Thank you.
All right, folks, hold it. We're almost there.
Jaime Gutierrez, please, you guys, do not waste your vote. It's important to vote in this election. This is a huge election for more reasons than one. But I'm running because I want to be of service. This is not hooray for me and F you. It's hardly that. I'm a humble servant, and I want to help people. That's why I'm here. There's no gain for me other than that. But I don't want to not die in the city that I was born in. I do want to die here. And I want to live out the rest of my days and feel that I'm safe and feel that there is community and culture and artistry and every other reason why San Francisco is San Francisco. And this district, this neighborhood, is what it is. I want to perpetuate that till the day I die. So please, please vote for me, and don't waste it. This is ranked choice voting. If you don't want to make me your number one, make me your number two. Thank you.
All right, and Jackie?
Thank you all so much. Thank you to the League. Over the past year and a half, my campaign has knocked thousands of doors across this district. We have created a platform from the ground up based on these conversations. I am proud to be backed by people who actually make this city, this district, the most special district in the whole honestly, world. I'm proud to be backed by nurses, teachers, social workers, baristas, small business owners. We have the most District 9 donors. We have the smallest average grassroots contribution because this is a grassroots campaign. I am proud to be the #1 endorsed candidate by the teachers, nurses, Women's Political Committee, California Working Families Party, League of Pissed Off Voters, sole endorsed by the Small Business Forward, Bernal Heights Democratic Club, tenants, climate, and labor organizations. We are building a massive working class, multi-generational, multiracial movement, and I hope you'll join us. Thank you.
All right, and folks, H. Brown.
My first candidate I worked for was Adlai Stevenson in 1952. To give you an idea, my old man was throwing freight on the docks at Kroger's. I was 8 years old, and I got to meet Jimmy Hoffa. That's a long time, and I've been backing losers since Adlai Stevenson. The last winner I had was Chesa Boudin, and before that was Chris Daly. So it goes back a ways. But let me tell you something why I'm here tonight. Because I'm 80 years old, and I'm still out here doing it. I stopped aspiring a long time ago. Now I want to inspire. When you get old like me, I want you to still be getting out there doing it. It costs $500 to enter this campaign. You can talk to thousands and thousands of people and reach 1 million. Aspire, folks. Keep going. Do 30 push-ups a day.
All right, thank you, candidates. Thank you, candidates. All right, that was it. I have just a few brief remarks, and then we're done. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of San Francisco, thank you to all of the candidates for participating in this forum. To everyone here tonight, everyone tuning in online and watching the recording, thank you so much for participating in our democracy by learning about your choices for the upcoming election. The League of Women Voters is hosting candidate forums for most of the other candidate races in the November 5th election, including SFUSD Board of Education on September 5th, the Community College Board on September 25th, and Mayor on September 30th. Visit our website at LWVSF to learn more and RSVP. And you can also, when you leave, exit out the back of the room, and we will share, if you're interested, more information about the League, candidates, and those forums and other resources we have to help you be a voter. Your vote matters. Be the bold change you want to see right here in District 9. Together, we can build a better neighborhood, build a better district, block by block. Remember to vote by Election Day on November 5th, and encourage your neighbors to vote as well. Thank you, and good night.